Hello, everyone. I was 9 years old, so you know it wasn't yesterday. I was fishing at Noxington Lake, midway between here and the Delaware Bay. My dad was one of 13 kids, and there was a large, close family that got together camping. And we were out fishing. We were out fishing this particular day, and I remember that the fish were biting. We got a few bass. One fish actually hopped in the boat. But that isn't really the story that I wanted to tell. The story began to occur when we got into shore. My Uncle Wally, that always went fishing with us, his sons had accompanied us, but he didn't go that day. And he and my Uncle Leonard were observed by myself as I walked up this knoll from the boat, backing up the car and going forward. And my Uncle Wally was driving, and Hank was directing him to drive over this brown paper bag. And I said to myself, what the hell's going on here? So I walked back to the campground, and fish fry was already underway. I tried to snitch some, and my mom smacked my fingers. And then I saw my Aunt Ann, Uncle Wally's wife, and I inquired, what's Uncle Wally doing driving over that bag? Well, she smiled, and she had a long pause, as though she was uncertain whether or not to proceed. And she says, well, I guess you can know. She said, while you were out fishing, Uncle Wally was out harvesting. He and your uncle were choosing some of the finest, freshest specimens. And in that brown paper bag are the seeds of a moral lesson that some young man is going to be remembering for the rest of his life. She said, within that bag are some drawers, and the specimens are poison ivy. And Uncle Wally is driving over them. You see, he has a terribly dirty job now at Bud's, and he's been putting underwear in his locker, and somebody's been stealing his damn underwear. And so he is going to proceed to work. She said, you know, he hates his job, but he is so itching to get to work on Monday morning. Well, I didn't hear anything for a while from my cousin Walter, Wally's son, but about 6 months later we got together, and he informed me that Ross Foreman, who had been Wally's foreman at work, had recently been hospitalized. And it turned out that Ross was put in the hospital, and he stayed like 47 days. He had erythema on his testicles, all the way up to his neck and down to his knees. And he was beside himself during this period of time, not only itching but burning, and all kinds of doctors came in, and he claimed that he had gotten asbestosis at work. Well, they were treating him initially, as I understand it, for jock itch. And he was blatantly belligerent, and the nurses, they were accosted by such foul language that would make the devil blush. And finally, they chose this guy from the Mayo Clinic to come, this dermatologist, who did biopsies of his scrotum. And lo and behold, they found particles of poison ivy in his testicles. And so his wife sued him for divorce. She said he was incompetent, unable to perform. And she told the judge before he granted the divorce that he had this terrible habit of throwing his dirty underwear under the bed. And sometimes it had even got hooked up under the bedposts. Well, I didn't hear anything for a long time. A year or so went by. And then Walter told me that his mom had a cousin who lived next door to Ross Foreman's wife. And she had informed him of the aforementioned divorce. And there was also another snafu. Ross's workman's compensation went before a board, and they rejected his claim for workman's compensation. So he had to admit that he had stolen the underwear. And he said he really had gotten the poison ivy on the job, and he had stolen the underwear. And that the board said it was a good point, even clever, but they fired him anyway. And he lost something like $47,000 in claims. So a couple of months went by, and Walter informed me that Aunt Ann had read an obituary in the paper. Apparently, Ross Foreman had died, this is many years later, and he had apparently gotten a job at Walmart as a greeter after he became well again. And he had distinguished himself over the years as a salesman. He got promoted, and he had increased the sales to 82,000%. And he had the most unique pair of underwear that he actually developed that were synthetic and non-allergic. He also had a little tracking device in them in case underwear was lost or stolen or got hung up under bedposts. So that embarrassing moment was superseded by one final thing. At his funeral, a guy by the name of Robert Martin appeared, and he testified that Ross Foreman had asked him never to disclose this, but he had done such a remarkable job with purchasing 1,000 pairs of underwear, wrapped individually in packs of 5 with Christmas wrap, and a little sign put on, "Yours in good health. Please be good children, but never steal a pair of drawers." Of course, if you do, you'll have the embarrassing moment that I'm talking about tonight.